Hey, listen, if you don't want to be happier, please do not subscribe to this channel. But if you're interested in more joy, check out this clip. What percentage of kids who experience gender dysphoria does it naturally go away for if they're just left alone?
It's approximately 90%.
90%
will come to identify with their biological sex as long as transition therapy is not intervening. Meaning they go to one of these gender clinics and they're like, oh, well, for sure, you're transgender. But for a lot of these kids, what's happening is they don't feel like they conform to these overly rigid gender stereotypes. But what they've got to be affirmed in is like, look, I know I'm a man, not because I feel so manly. I know I'm a man because I have a body of a man. And the body is not meaningless, it's meaningful. Your body is good. What's not good is these overly rigid gender stereotypes that cause you to question the goodness of your body and the goodness of who God created you to be. You don't have to fit that mold. Not everybody is, He-Man and Barbie doll.
Yeah.
And if we don't fit into that, that's okay. And we need to affirm people in who God created them to be, even if they're not the captain of the football team. And for a lot of the individuals, that's what's needed. Not everybody, but for many, that's what needs to be addressed.
Isn't it ironic that as we reject gender stereotypes, it's like gender stereotypes on crack?
Yeah,
That girl likes to climb a tree, she needs a penis. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Here's what, I can't wrap my head around this, okay? I like to think that human beings have goodwill in general.
Yeah.
And that people who I disagree with in the secular LGBT movement about how to deal with this at least have the same motive, that we want to pastorally care for this person who presents with gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
But the things that you're sharing are not hidden.
Yeah, no.
That for 90% of the people this would go away, but that if you make it a permanent decision, their chance of suicide is 19 times higher. What the heck is motivating them saying, whoa, don't even talk to a counselor. Get your testosterone pellets immediately.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, what they would
Do
say...
they not care? Are they owning the fact that, no, I don't care about how this kid turns out? Like,
No,
what's going on?
What they're saying is, why the kid's killing himself? It's because of you right-wing hate mongers, these transphobic
So
people
they genuinely
like you.
believe that?
That if you really accepted them and loved them like we do, then all these things would go away. We're giving them the answer, and you guys are just these hate speech people that just need to be banned from culture because you're the ones killing them all. But I think, and in the end, our voices won't be the most powerful. The most powerful will be these detransitioners. And it's hard, especially for parents. There's a magazine called The Atlantic. It's a left-leaning magazine, but it said on the cover, your daughter's 13, she says she's trans, what do you do? And I picked up the article, read this lengthy piece, and a lot of it was good, where it started out where this 13-year-old girl came to her parents, Mom, Dad, I want top surgery, which is a radical double mastectomy. And the parents like, okay, well, honey, we take this seriously. We're going to do our homework. And everything the parents read was like, look, if her kid says she's trans, she's trans.
That's
and they lived up in the Pacific Northwest, and that's where everything was heading. And then they talked to her and said, look, we're going to keep digging into this because we really care about what you feel, but no more social media, okay? We're going to go camping this weekend. We're going to start doing family dinners again. We're going to spend more time together. And they were trying to buy themselves some time. And within the course of a year, the girl had changed schools, and she found a new school where she had a new clique of friends that were like her, that didn't fit into the cultural norm of stereotypes of what girls are supposed to be, but were at home in their own bodies as women. And her gender dysphoria dissipated on its own.
Wow.
And so thanks be to God, I mean, the mother was a pharmacologist, the dad was well educated, and they knew this is not the answer for my daughter. I mean, adolescence is such a time of turbulence and self-discovery. To pin it down and start throwing these kids on these, these irreversible hormones is not the answer. It's child abuse.
It is child abuse, yeah. Thanks for saying that directly.
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference, though, between the massive number of kids who is just caught up in this cultural moment?
Yeah.
And maybe there's some cultural contagion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
There was a phase when we were Gen Xers, right?
Yeah.
There was a phase where like everybody was bulimic and anorexic. Not everybody, but it was catchy. Mm-hmm. There's been instances of teenagers where suicide is contagious. Mm-hmm. This is clearly a contagion. Yeah. When you think about the percentage of teenage girls who suddenly are transitioning and declaring themselves another gender. One of the tragedies here is, as we're dealing with that cultural contagion, is there still is that 0.01% who is just in agony.
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference between those two?
Yeah.
And I think the pastoral response to each group should be different. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, but we tend to respond to all of them as if it's that 0.01%. So how do you tell the difference, and how should the responses differ? Like, if you're a parent and your kid says this,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a kind of a
no,
loaded question.
No, but I think the world will tell you, look, you either accept these individuals or you're abandoning them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And for most people, it's like, well, I don't want to abandon them and be some transphobic jerk. So yeah, if you want to be you, go do that thing. Yeah. But what's missing from the language is accompaniment. So the answer is walking with these individuals and
big
love.
Francis word, right?
Yeah, but listening to these people, entering into their stories, and really caring about them. And so for the parents, if your kid comes out, hey, mom, dad, I'm trans, I think the worst thing you do is freak out. And then you just try to immediately intellectually convince them that they're wrong. Because, they're going to want to, in their own rebellion, to discover their identity, dig their heels in. I think you're going to say, okay, well, look, I want to hear what you're hearing. I want to hear what you're listening, what you're watching to. Share some videos. There were some YouTube influencers that you've been paying attention to.
Right.
Tell me about this. I want to listen to that. And then I want to share some things with you. Let's enter into a dialogue and talk about this. Because if they see that you're willing to listen to them and their sources, they might actually listen to yours as well. Yeah. And then you could share with them some detransitioners while you're listening to their Instagram person who talks about how, they need to have this transition. There needs to be a conversation. They need to see that you're willing to listen if they're going to hear you. And so we can't just take the iron fist of like, nope, you're a boy and that's the way it's always going to be. That's true. That is true. Like you can't change that. Right. But we've got to get to the root. Where is this coming from? And you've got to listen to them and ask the right questions and maybe tease out of them these answers that they haven't even thought about yet.
Man, wasn't that amazing? I get so much out of these conversations that I barely care if anybody else is watching. But I prefer, obviously, to share this great stuff with the world. So be sure to subscribe and share it with everybody you know, and we'll see you in the next video.